After years of making these lists, I thought I knew how extreme this planet could get. But boy, was I wrong. There's a shrimp on here that punches hard enough to generate temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. And that's one of the tamer entries. Earth writes her own rules, and scientists are still playing catch up. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 awesome facts about the most extreme things on Earth. 25. The mantis shrimp's unbelievable punch. The mantis shrimp throws the fastest punch in the animal kingdom. Its club-like appendages accelerate at 10,000 times the force of gravity, reaching speeds of 50 miles an hour in less than 3 milliseconds. The strike is so fast and so violent that it creates cavitation bubbles in the water. And when those bubbles collapse, they briefly hit temperatures of around 8,600 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hotter than the surface of the sun, generated by a crustacean the size of your finger. If a human could punch with that kind of proportional force, we could throw a baseball into orbit. Instead, we pull our muscles reaching for the remote. The mantis shrimp didn't get that memo. It's been perfecting this move for millions of years, and it uses it to crack open snail shells like they're made of tissue paper. 24. The heaviest living thing on Earth. Hidden in Utah's Fish Lake National Forest sits an organism that makes blue whales look like appetizers. Pando is a grove of quaking aspen trees that looks like a forest of 47,000 individual trunks, but every single one of them is connected underground by the same root system. It is one organism. One very, very large organism. This clonal colony covers 106 acres, weighs approximately 13 million pounds, and has been growing for somewhere between 16 and 80,000 years. Every trunk you see is genetically identical to every other trunk. The whole thing is basically one tree that figured out how to take over a mountainside. Scientists consider Pando the heaviest known living thing on the planet, and it's been quietly doing its thing since before humans invented agriculture. 23. The deepest point on land isn't where you think. Most people assume the lowest point on Earth's land surface is somewhere around the Dead Sea. But that's not even close. The Denman Glacier Canyon in Antarctica plunges 11,500 feet below sea level, making it the deepest canyon on any continent. You could stack 3 Burj Khalifas on top of each other down there and still not reach the surface. The catch is that it's buried under miles of ice, so nobody knew it existed until 2019 when scientists mapped it using ice-penetrating radar. If you could somehow drain all that ice, you'd be standing deeper below sea level than most military submarines are rated to dive. Antarctica keeps its secrets well, and this one has been hiding for a very long time. 22. The most extreme wind ever recorded. On April 12, 1934, observatory workers at Mount Washington, New Hampshire, recorded a wind gust of 231 miles an hour. That record stood for over 60 years, and the mountain earned a reputation as one of the windiest places on Earth. I have been to the peak of Mount Washington, and trust me, it has earned that reputation. The peak sits at the intersection of 3 major storm tracks, which basically turns it into a wind tunnel with a view. The people who work at the observatory deal with hurricane-force gusts on a regular basis. They chained both the equipment and themselves to the building. The whole operation runs year-round, and staff rotate in and out via a cog railway that only operates when conditions aren't actively trying to throw people off the mountain. It's not a job for anyone who likes predictable weather. The railroad's really cool too. I went up that. 21. The deepest dive by any animal. Cuvier's beaked whales are the undisputed champions of holding their breath. In 2014, researchers tracked one individual diving nearly 10,000 feet below the surface and staying down there for 222 minutes. That's almost 4 hours on a single breath, at depths where the pressure would crush a submarine. Scientists still don't fully understand how their bodies handle it. The pressure at that depth is immense, and yet these whales routinely make dives that would be fatal to almost anything else. They don't get the bends when they come back up. their lungs don't collapse. They just surface, take a few breaths, and go right back down again. Whatever adaptations they've developed over millions of years, they're keeping those secrets to themselves. The deepest confirmed dive came from a satellite-tagged whale off the coast of California. Researchers lost the signal during the descent and assumed something had gone wrong with the equipment. Hours later, the tag resurfaced with data showing the whale had simply gone deeper and stayed longer than anyone thought possible. It rewrote what we knew about mammalian physiology in a single afternoon. 20. The biggest volcano nobody talks about. Tamu Massif sits about 1,000 miles east of Japan, hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, and it's one of the largest volcanoes in our solar system. This thing covers roughly 213,000 square miles, which is about the size of New Mexico. It rivals Olympus Mons on Mars, and most people have never heard of it. Unlike the steep cone-shaped volcanoes we're used to seeing, Tamu Massif is a shield volcano that spreads out low and wide. The lava that built it was so fluid that it flowed for enormous distances before cooling. Scientists believe the whole structure formed from a single volcanic source rather than multiple eruption points. The good news is that it's been dormant for around 144 million years. The bad news? We didn't even know it was there until 2013. 19. The coldest place on Earth. Vostok, Antarctica holds the record for the lowest temperature ever recorded on the planet at negative 144 degrees Fahrenheit. At that level of cold, the air itself becomes lethal. Taking more than a few unprotected breaths would cause your lungs to hemorrhage, which meant the Russian scientists stationed there couldn't just walk outside to check on equipment that a normal person would. They wore special masks that warmed the air before it reached their lungs. Even with that protection, they kept every outdoor trip as brief as possible. The human body just wasn't built for that kind of environment, but the research station exists there anyway, and someone has to maintain the weather equipment. 18. The largest living organism. Oregon's Meller National Forest is home to a honey mushroom colony that covers 2,385 acres, which works out to roughly 1,665 football fields. Most of it lives underground as a sprawling network of fungal thread called mycelium, with only one occasional cluster of mushrooms poking up through the soil. Scientists estimate it weighs up to 35,000 tons and may be anywhere from 2,400 to 8,650 years old. The locals call it the humongous fungus, and it earned that name. This organism spreads by slowly killing and feeding on tree roots, growing outward at a rate of about 1 to 3 feet per year. It's been at this for millennia, quietly expanding its territory while the forest above has no idea what's happening below. By sheer mass and footprint, it is the largest known living thing on the planet. 17. The hottest surface temperature. Forget Death Valley for a moment. NASA satellites have recorded surface temperatures in Iran's Lut Desert reaching 159 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the hottest land surface temperature ever measured on Earth. The ground there is covered in dark volcanic rock that soaks up sunlight like nobody's business, which is why the spot keeps breaking its own records. Nothing lives there. Seriously, not even bacteria want anything to do with this place. Researchers have used it as a stand-in for what conditions might be like on other planets because it's that inhospitable. The Lut Desert isn't just hot, it's aggressively, almost personally hot. Like the Earth decided to see how far it could push the thermometer before something melted. 16. The most extreme daily temperature swing. On July 20th, 2006, China's Chaidam Basin experienced the largest single-day temperature swing ever documented. The mercury started at negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit in the early morning and then rocketed to 137 by afternoon. That is a 148 degree Fahrenheit difference in less than 24 hours. This high-altitude desert on the Tibetan Plateau has extremely thin, dry air that can't hold on to heat. Once the sun sets, temperatures plummet. Once it comes back up, they spike. It's one of the few places on Earth where you could realistically experience both hypothermia and heat stroke on the same day. packing for a trip there would be a nightmare. You need a parka and shorts and probably use both before lunch. 15. The oldest animal ever found. In 2006, researchers dredged up a clam from the ocean floor near Iceland and initially aged it at 405 years. When they refined their counting methods, they realized the ocean quahog they named Ming was actually 507 years old. That means it was born around 1499, when Leonardo da Vinci was still alive and Columbus had only recently bumped into the Americas. Here's where things get a little awkward. Scientists accidentally ended Ming's life while determining its age by counting the growth rings on its shell. So, the oldest individual animal ever documented was also, in a roundabout way, taken out by the people studying it. Ming had survived 5 centuries of ocean life, only to meet its end at the hands of very apologetic researchers. 14. The longest living vertebrate on Earth. If you thought Ming had an impressive run, the Greenland shark would like a word. Radiocarbon dating of their eye lens nuclei has revealed individuals over 400 years old, with some possibly reaching 500. These sharks cruise through Arctic waters at a glacial pace, and their lifespans match that leisurely approach to life. What's wild is that Greenland sharks don't even reach sexual maturity until around 150. A shark alive today could have been swimming through the ocean when the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock and still wouldn't have been ready to reproduce for another few decades. Their entire existence operates on a timeline that makes human lifespans look like a coffee break. 13. The loudest animal on Earth. Sperm whales hold the title for the loudest animal on Earth, and the numbers behind it are kind of absurd. Their echolocation clicks reach 236 decibels underwater, which works out to about 174 in air. That's roughly 44 times louder than a thunderclap, and standing next to a jet engine at takeoff wouldn't even come close. Some researchers believe clicks that intense could actually stun prey from a distance, which honestly kind of sounds like cheating, but nobody's going to tell a sperm whale that. The sound travels tens of miles through the ocean, letting these whales communicate across huge stretches of water and navigate through depths where the sun checked out a long time ago. Most of their lives are spent in silence and near total darkness, but when they do decide to make noise, nothing else in the animal kingdom can compete. 12. The most powerful bite force. Saltwater crocodiles possess the strongest measured bite force of any living animal at about 3,700 pounds per square inch. That number came from a 17-foot-long specimen. Scale it up to a 20-footer, and the estimated bite force reaches around 7,700 pounds. For context, that's more than enough pressure to crush a bowling ball. Here's the funny part. While crocs can slam their jaws shut with devastating force, the muscles that open their mouths are comparatively weak. Handlers can hold a croc's mouth shut with their bare hands, and a few wraps of tape will keep it shut. Getting those jaws open is easy. Surviving what happens when they close, that's the hard part. 11. The deepest cave on Earth. The Rovkina Cave in Abkhazia, Georgia, plunges over 7,200 feet into the Earth, making it the deepest known cave on the planet. That's vertical descent through flooded passages, vertical shafts, and near freezing temperatures with 100% humidity. Reaching the bottom takes 4 or more days, and the trip back up takes just as long. The cave is so remote and dangerous, it's claimed lives. In 2021, explorers discovered the body of a solo caver who had become trapped at around 3,600 feet. This isn't a place for casual visitors. It's a multi-day expedition into one of the most hostile environments on Earth, and the only reward at the bottom is the knowledge that you've gone deeper underground than most anyone else alive. 10. The tallest waterfall on Earth. Angel Falls in Venezuela drops 3,212 feet from the top of a flat-topped mountain called Ayuantepui, making it the world's tallest waterfall. The main plunge is around 2,648 feet, which is roughly 16 times taller than Niagara Falls. The water falls so far that much of it turns to mist before it ever hits the ground. The falls are named after American pilot Jimmy Angel, who crash-landed on top of the plateau in 1937 while searching for gold. His plane got stuck in the mud, and he had to trek 11 days through the jungle to get back to civilization. The local indigenous name for the falls is Kerepakupai Meru, which means waterfall of the deepest place. Both names, it turns out, are pretty accurate. 9. The deepest sinkhole on Earth. China's Shaosha Tiankong, known as the Heavenly Pit, plunges 2,172 feet into the Earth, making it the deepest sinkhole in the world. The opening spans 2,000 feet long and 1,700 feet wide, and the whole thing formed through the gradual collapse of a limestone cave system over an estimated 128,000 years ago. What makes it even stranger is that it's a double-nested structure, essentially a sinkhole within a sinkhole. At the bottom, there's a waterfall, a river, and a primitive forest that's remained largely untouched by human activity. It's like a hidden world sitting inside a hole in the ground, and it took over 100,000 years for nature to carve it out. 8. The fastest growing plant. Bamboo holds the world record for the fastest growing plant on Earth, with some species growing up to 36 inches in a single day. The record was set by a Marake bamboo species in Japan that grew about 4 feet in 24 hours. So, how does it pull it off? Most plants grow by making new cells, but bamboo cheats. It stretches the cells it already has, kind of like pulling taffy. And because new shoots tap into a root network that's been stockpiling energy for years, they've got all the fuel they need to rocket up to 60 or 80 feet tall in a single growing season. You could almost watch it happen in real time, if you were patient enough to sit there all day. Farmers in some regions have to harvest daily during peak season because waiting even 24 hours means the shoots get too tough to eat. The plant doesn't wait for anyone, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss your window. There's a reason bamboo forests feel like they've appeared overnight. In some cases, they basically did. 7. The tallest tree on Earth. Hyperion, a coast redwood in California's Redwood National Park, stands 380 feet tall. That is taller than the Statue of Liberty, including the pedestal, and nearly the height of a 38-story building. Discovered in 2006, Hyperion is estimated to be between 600 and 800 years old, which is actually relatively young for a redwood. The exact location is kept secret to protect it from tourists. As of 2022, the National Park Service made visiting it punishable by a $5,000 fine. People were trampling the area around the tree, damaging its root system, and generally loving it to destruction. So now Hyperion stands alone in an undisclosed location, quietly adding another few inches to its height every year. 6. The place with the most lightning on Earth. Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela gets more lightning than anywhere else on the planet. Although I feel like my home of Tampa gets pretty close to that. Hence the Tampa Bay Lightning. Where the Catatumbo River meets the lake, atmospheric conditions create storms that produce lightning up to 300 nights per year, with an average of 28 strikes per minute during peak activity. The phenomenon is so reliable that sailors have used it for navigation for centuries. The Catatumbo lightning is caused by a perfect collision of factors. Warm Caribbean winds hit the cool air coming off the Andes, and methane from nearby oil fields and swamps add extra fuel to the mix. The result is a nightly light show so intense, it's visible from 250 miles away. Guinness World Records officially recognizes this spot as the place with the highest concentration of lightning on Earth. Still really feel like we're a close second. Gotta be up there. 5. The heaviest hailstones ever recorded. On April 14, 1986, hailstones weighing up to 2.25 pounds fell in the Gopalganj district of Bangladesh. These chunks of ice were roughly the size of volleyballs, and they fell with enough force to destroy buildings and take out livestock. The storm claimed 92 lives, making it the deadliest hailstorm in modern history. Most hailstorms are inconvenient. This one was catastrophic. Witnesses described the sky going dark before the ice started falling, and once it started, there was nowhere to hide. Roofs caved in, crops were flattened. The sheer weight and velocity of the stones made them lethal in a way that's hard to imagine, unless you've seen ice the size of volleyballs falling from the sky. The World Meteorological Organization still recognizes this as the heaviest verified hailstone ever recorded. For comparison, the largest hailstone in U.S. history, which fell in Vivian, South Dakota in 2010, was 8 inches in diameter, but only weighed 1.9 pounds. The Bangladesh stones were in a league of their own, and the damage they caused was catastrophic. 4. The longest lightning bolt ever recorded. In October 2017, a single bolt of lightning stretched 515 miles from eastern Texas to near Kansas City, Missouri. That's one flash covering more distance than most people drive in a week, and it took about 7.4 seconds to complete its journey. The bolt was so enormous that scientists didn't even discover it until years later when they reanalyzed satellite data. A car driving at highway speeds would take 8 to 9 hours to cover the same distance. These mega flashes require massive storm systems churning for 14 hours or more, and less than 1% of thunderstorms ever produce them. When one does happen, it rewrites what we thought was possible for a single electrical discharge. 3. The strongest natural material on Earth. Move over, spider silk. Limpet teeth are now recognized as the strongest biological material on the planet. These tiny marine snails need extraordinarily tough teeth to scrape algae off rocks, and testing revealed their teeth can withstand the pressure of up to 943,000 pounds per square inch. That's about 5 times stronger than spider silk, and approaching the pressure needed to turn carbon into diamonds. The secret lies in goethite nanofibers, an iron-containing mineral arranged in a chitin matrix. The fibers are thousands of times thinner than a human hair, but they're packed together so densely that the resulting structure can handle forces that would shatter almost anything else. A limpet's tooth is basically nature's answer to industrial-grade materials, and it's been perfecting the design for millions of years. 2. The monster waves that were myths. For centuries, sailors told stories of rogue waves that could appear from nowhere and swallow entire ships. Scientists dismissed these as tall tales until January 1st, 1995, when the Dropner oil platform in the North Sea recorded a wave 84 feet tall in seas where surrounding waves were only 39 feet. That single measurement changed everything. The Dropner wave proved that these freak walls of water were real and not just the exaggerations of superstitious sailors. Scientists now know rogue waves can be up to 4 times higher than surrounding waves and may occur far more often than anyone previously believed. The ocean, it turns out, had been keeping secrets, and it took a lucky measurement on an oil platform to finally expose them. 1. The largest natural crystals on Earth. Mexico's Cueva de los Cristales contains selenite crystals up to 39 feet long, 3 feet thick, and weighing around 55 tons each. These are the largest natural crystals ever found, and they formed over approximately 500,000 to 1 million years in mineral-rich water at a constant 136 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's the problem. The cave sits at that 136 with humidity between 90 and 99%. Humans can only survive inside for about 10 minutes without specialized cooling suits. The crystals grew at a rate so slow that it would take the thickness of a human hair about 100 years to form. They're fragile, they're enormous, and visiting them requires gear designed for hostile environments. It's one of the most visually stunning places on Earth, and almost no one will ever see it in person. Honestly, researching this one reminded me why I never got bored in science class. What's a fact about something extreme near you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're up for more, click here for 25 fascinating facts about the evolution of life on Earth. It's even wilder than this one. And that's it for today. So, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe with that notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one.